What is up? What is up, guys? I have a question for you. Have you ever felt like there's misconceptions about investing in real estate, mysteries that just nobody seem to want to tell you? Hello, and welcome again to another episode of Mind Renovation Nation, the show brought to you by Red Maples, your go-to source for institutional style property management of small multifamily rentals. I am your host, Nathan Bush, and each show we share with you real life examples from our personal experiences in real estate. We invite industry experts and innovators and influencers to delve deep into the challenges and opportunities facing small multifamily real estate investors. And this show helps you to understand market research, setting up effective management systems, ensuring you're maximizing your returns while minimizing your expenses. So together, let's unlock some of this knowledge and tools that are available for you through the experiences that we have had. If you want more of this type of resource on a regular basis, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yeah, go ahead and subscribe to YouTube right now. Or you can head over to www.nathanbushmba.com/subscribe. I will put that up in the comments for you guys so that you can have that. That's www.nathanbushmba.com/subscribe. So there you go. Head on over there, check out other resources and tools that we have for you. But today's topic is these blind spots. I've noticed that a lot of real estate investors just have misconceptions. And so the last couple of shows, we have journeyed through this concept of misconceptions and talking about misconceptions in real estate investing. One of the questions I have for you is, if you're watching right now on replay or you're sitting here live, the question I have for you: what are some of the misconceptions or misunderstandings that you had prior to investing in real estate? Or maybe you haven't invested in real estate yet. What are some questions that you have about investing in real estate? Go ahead and share those in the comments. And if I answer them today on today's show, it's because I saw your comment and I make sure that I get you an answer. If I don't answer it on today's show, I will come back through the comments and make sure that I get you the answer that you are looking for. All right. So I know what you're thinking. I'm not a new real estate investor. I don't really have a lot of these misconceptions. I haven't ran into a lot of different challenges, or the challenges I've ran into I've already overcome. Well, this show is also for you, because there are some things that you may come across that you haven't come across yet. And I'd rather you learn from the experiences that I've been through versus having some of these experiences on your own and them costing you dearly. So a lot of people have been talking to me this past week, and we've been having the conversation around these misconceptions. One of the first misconceptions that I want to talk to you about just for a brief second is this concept of occupancy and guaranteed occupancy. What's up, Heather? I see you online. Dennis, I see you online as well. If you guys are here, go ahead and put yourself in the chat. This is a live show and a live event. So again, I'm going to address some of these common concerns. Like one of the concerns that Dennis asks online, or misconceptions that he was asking about, is how much time commitment is involved in real estate investing. And we're going to address that today on today's show. But before I do that, I want to talk about this concept of occupancy rates. I know that if you are like I am and you're doing your due diligence on a property that you're getting ready to buy, you might consider that that property is fully occupied. You might hear this terminology in the industry right now called turnkey rental. Turnkey rental. What does that mean? Well, if you do your thorough due diligence on that deal, you should get an understanding of who's living in that property, not just that somebody's living in that property. The question that I would have for you is, did you dive deep into your research, and did you ask for things like applications and credit scores of that tenant prior to taking over the ownership of that property or that real estate? Are these things that you can ask for? Maybe the owner has them, maybe they don't, but this should tell you something about rental real estate. When you go in and you purchase a small multifamily piece of property, let's say that there's 4 or 5 units there, and those are fully occupied. How recently did they become occupied? Have they been occupied for 2 years? Have they been occupied for 2 minutes? See, you got to understand that there is a condition or a quality that's underlying in every single property. The higher the risk, the higher the likelihood that there's going to be challenges. I talked about this on the last show when we talked about 3 other misconceptions that people have around real estate. And the first misconception that we're talking about today is high occupancy rates and that they're going to be guaranteed. This is a major misconception. In fact, I don't know anywhere else to go than to help you by bringing in maybe some Bible verses today that will help walk you through an understanding of truth around this concept of that there is no such thing as guaranteed high occupancy rates. The first verse that I'd like to talk to you about is Luke chapter 8, verse 17. And this is what it says in the Bible. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be brought into the open. So what is not being disclosed that's going to be brought into the open after you make your purchase? That's the thing to be weary of when it comes to investing in small multifamily real estate. Not necessarily the things you can see, but the things that are hidden, the things that will be brought into the open. In fact, Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5 has this to say: the purpose of a person's heart are deep waters. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. So what does that mean? That means that there are purposes in people's hearts. There's intentions, there's motivations inside of people's hearts. And it's your responsibility as a real estate investor, before you invest in that piece of real estate, to begin to understand what you can to draw the nuances of what the intentions are of those tenants who are occupying those units out. You cannot be in this situation where you purchase the property, all of your tenants leave, and now you have no resources for which to take care of that property. This is a major challenge and a major misconception. A major challenge or a major misconception you might have is that these occupancy rates are being presented to you by people with integrity. And it would be great in a world that was filled of integrity, where everybody told the truth, but you don't know the purposes of somebody's heart unless you draw them out. And so I would challenge you to be against this concept of high occupancy rates and that these are going to be guaranteed for you long term. Market conditions can change, the economy can change, competition can change. And so you got to take into consideration when you're making your decision to purchase small multifamily real estate, some of these risks that are involved. Dennis was talking about how much time. Well, it depends on what you are going to be responsible for as a real estate investor. Remember, there's 3 different pieces as of real estate investing that we talk about oftentimes, and it's in my book, Small Multifamily Mastery. And those 3 different pieces being, there's got to be somebody that's focused on market research and growth. That means acquisitions, buying the property, adding additional units to your portfolio, if you're going to build a sustainable real estate business. The second arm that we talk about is effective management systems. These things can be outsourced, right? You can outsource acquisitions. You can outsource management. You can also outsource the exit strategy, or what you plan to do with those properties long term, right? And those 3 different pieces of constantly managing and assessing, acquiring, growing your portfolio, and then the last piece being the exit strategies on what your plans are to do with those properties long term. Those 3 different pieces form that triangle that help you to be able to sustain a long-term business as a real estate investor. But not many people are going to do that. So how much time's involved depends on how much time you're going to personally be committing to those 3 pieces. Each one of those pieces can take hours and numerous amounts of time. And so my recommendation is to work with different people to learn the process of delegation and utilize your resources so that you can free up your time. In fact, the Proverbs talks about, since we're going through the Bible today and talking about it, the Proverbs talks about that a wise man buys back his time. It redeems his time. And so you want to make sure that you're not overcommitted on how much time or undercommitted on how much time it's actually going to take in order for you to be successful as a real estate investor. One of the other considerations for this high occupancy rate guaranteed thought process is a resource or a tool that helps you out in this process to make sure that you aren't under occupying your units, is to diversify your market mix. You can go back and watch some of my videos. I actually did a video explaining the market and understanding that you can diversify with asset class types, or you can diversify in a specific types of market. And so if you're a small multifamily real estate investor, maybe you're oversaturated in South City or South County, maybe you in St. Louis area, maybe you need to move some and buy some property out in North County. Maybe you need to get out of the state and buy other small multifamily properties so that you don't go overly under occupied in your portfolio. Lenders, when you go to borrow money, a lot of times are going to look for somewhere around 90% occupancy. And so you want to make sure that you're maintaining high levels of occupancy in all of your small multifamily units across your portfolio, across the board. All right. Hope that was helpful. So make sure you diversify. That is the action step. The second big misconception that a lot of people have that are out there about investing in small multifamily real estate, the second big misconception is that there's no need to set aside additional reserves. Take all of the cash I have and invest it in the next deal. Okay. Well, that's a challenge also. When you run out of money and there's no additional cash reserves and there's nothing you can do whenever that sewer lateral line collapses, but pay for it or sell the property, now you no longer have a growing business. You have a what? Yeah, you have a dying business. That's a problem. That's a problem. And so cash reserves are extremely important and prudent. In fact, one of the things that we often talk about at Red Maples, and we talk amongst ourselves and we talk amongst our investors whenever we're having conversations with them, one of the things that we talk about is this concept of 50% equity in every property. You want to get to 50% equity in every property as fast as possible, so that in the event that you do need access to capital, you have the ability to get access to capital because you have 50% equity available inside of your asset. I know that if you're new to investing, you think to yourself, oh no, I'll make sure to set aside plenty of cash reserves. But this investment bug gets a hold of you and you try to buy the biggest deal you can versus understanding the finances behind the transaction so that you're doing the deal correctly. In fact, again, we want to go back to a source of truth. And so a principle out of Proverbs 27:12 says this: the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. The simple keep going and pay the penalty. The prudent seek danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. I don't know about you, but to me, that speaks to me. That tells me that if I'm going to be a prudent person, I want to make sure that I do the work up front to protect myself and put myself in a situation so that later on, I'm not paying the price of being underprepared. Preparation is a key core philosophy and principle, and you got to have good preparation in your life if you're going to have any level of success doing anything. I'd also like to direct your attention to Proverbs 21:20. It says, in the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has. So if you take that into the concept of setting aside some reserves, that way you can make sure you don't devour all of the availability that you have in order to be able to nourish and take care of yourself whenever things change, the market changes, things shift. The one thing in real estate I know that's constant is that it will always be changing. There's changing markets. In fact, if I was to pull up for a graph for you right now, in the St. Louis area, I've done probably 40 or 50 rental comps in the last month and a half. And every single comp is showing a decline in the rental rate that you can get. Even a month ago, I was going to get $2,400 for one of the properties we were trying to rent. Today, I'll be lucky to get $1,695 for that same property. Why? There's shifts in market. Things happen. And so you as the investor have to be prepared for when this situation happens. Can you sustain yourself? And with 50% equity, a lot of times you can weather the storm or weather those markets. It provides you a foundation of surplus, of storage, of stored up, so that you don't devour all the resources that you have. No matter how profitable your present scenario may seem, it's always prudent for investors to set aside a portion of their earnings into an emergency fund. An emergency fund. Can you pay 6 to 12 months worth of expenses in an emergency fund. All right. You never know what's going to happen. Again, market downturns. They might have this situation with vaccines come back and economy shutdowns. You never know what's going to happen in the market. And so where are you financially? Are you making good, wise decisions with your money? All right. The last one I want to talk about today, no need to worry about tenant turnover. People often believe that once they have a tenant, that they'll stay for a long time, but tenant turnover is a common issue in rental properties. And it's important that you plan this turnover into your financial projections. What do I mean by tenant turnover? The tenant leaving, going somewhere else. Again, market shifts, things change in the condition. And so if you have this conception in your brain that you're going to be 100% occupied and that you're never going to need access to any other resources and the tenant is never going to move out of that property, I got news for you. It's going to be a tough day in real estate investing for you. These are major misconceptions that people have whenever it comes to real estate investing. And how do I know that there is some truth to this turnover concept? Proverbs 20, verse 6 has this to say. It says, many claim to have unfailing love, but a faithful person who can find? Question mark. Many claim to have unfailing love, but a faithful person who can find? Question mark. Meaning that they may be telling you that they're going to be faithful, that they're going to be there forever. And that just couldn't be further from the truth. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future of that resident, what's going to happen with their job, what's going to happen in their life, what's going to happen in the economy. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And so they can tell you they're faithful, but are they really? That's why you can't ever get way too close to your tenants, because they can end up breaking your heart if you have this relationship with them and they end up leaving long term. It doesn't mean don't establish relationships. It means maybe it's good to have good professional boundaries with tenants set. The last verse I'd like to turn your attention to is Matthew 24, verse 12 through 13. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And so we know that people are going to leave. They're not going to stay around forever. Now, what are some things that you can do in order to protect yourself against this turnover? Well, the first one is make sure you take care of the property. Look for ways to provide additional upgrades and incentives for the tenant to stay long term. I had a tenant that was in one of my rentals for 3 years. Year one, I bought them a new dishwasher. Did the property need a new dishwasher? No, but I went in proactively and went with them to the store and we picked out the dishwasher they wanted. And then later on, I heard that their dryer went out from their washer and dryer. And what did I do? We went with them to the appliance store and we got them a dryer. We added a window unit to the upstairs because they said the bedroom was getting a little too warm for them. And yet that tenant stayed with me for 3 years. And we sold that property for more than what it appraised for, to the point where the person purchasing the property had to bring money to the closing table because they wanted that specific property. And the tenant took so well and good care of that property. Now, did that tenant stay with me forever? No, they left. And I had to make a decision as the market shifted what it was going to do with that piece of rental property. This is why it's so important to understand that you do have to understand that there's a potential that there's going to be turnover. So the 3 biggest misconceptions that we're talking about today is that you're going to have guaranteed high occupancy rates, that you're not going to have any need to set aside reserve, and that you don't need to worry about tenant turnover. And those things couldn't be further from the truth. We pulled our core message today from the truth so that you guys had a better understanding and could have certainty to know that these things are going to change. Dennis asked this question. He said, what is a good way to protect yourself because of occupancy changes? A good way to protect yourself because of occupancy changes is a number of things. Number one, make sure you have enough reserves set aside. By having 50% equity available inside that property, whether that's cash available or you could borrow the money against it, it's important that you have the availability of the funds to be able to do it. The second thing is, if you work with a property management organization like Red Maples, we can get those turnovers done faster for you. The faster you get the turnover done, the more likely you are to be able to get another tenant into that property quicker. And so by marketing that property properly and getting the proper things in place in order for that to run quickly, you reduce the vacancy time inside that property. Vacancy builds up tremendous amounts of costs inside of your rental property if you don't have your systems down in order to be able to help yourself. I know a lot of landlords, especially in St. Louis, because we're trying to do things the most economical way, and that's the kindest way I can put it. They want to do the turnover themselves. They want to go in and do all the work themselves. And they're trying to do this turnover after hours, after their work, because they're trying to save a nickel. And what they don't understand is they're giving up thousands of dollars in additional rental income because it's taking them 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, 180 days, 360 days in order to finish the turnover project and get it ready for the next tenant. Might it be prudent and wise to have a little bit of access to cash and capital to be able to turn that over to the property manager who can turn that property quickly for you, and you can start earning rental income again off of your business. Now, you say, well, what about owners with larger portfolios? They just have larger problems with occupancy. They have larger problems with reserves. They have larger problems with tenant turnover. Dennis has this to say. He said, stepping over $10 to pick up a dime. I totally agree with you, Dennis. Like, you cannot step over the $10 bill to pick up a dime. Like, do the right things, guys. This is why we do this show. This is why we do the Mind Renovation Nation show. It is for you, the real estate investor. It is designed to help you better understand and know exactly how to navigate some of these waters in the St. Louis market specifically. All right. Well, I do want to tell you thank you for attending the show today and being a part of this. We do have 2 other parts to this particular program on misconceptions, and I walk you through all of the misconceptions that I talk about in my book, Small Multifamily Mastery. So if you haven't, go back and watch those additional videos. Those 2 are also posted on my YouTube page. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will get additional notifications whenever I'm about to go live or share a new video. We got a new video coming out tomorrow that was pre-recorded from when we did our large event a couple weekends ago on Saturday. And so you're not going to want to miss the video that we're re-releasing tomorrow at 10 a.m. So subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get notified of resources like that when they come out. This was a big event that we did with a number of real estate experts, and they were sharing with you their strategies, tips, and mindset around how they achieve their success in St. Louis specifically. And so you're going to want to check out that show. You're going to want to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You're going to want to share this information with somebody who needs to hear this. Is there a group, an organization, somebody that I need to go speak to that I can help get this information to that will help them? Is it an individual that I need to be speaking with? Get those people, get those contacts over to me. I'll be happy to help them out. Share the show, subscribe to the channel. You guys are real cool. Thanks for taking the time this week. See ya.